Dead by Daylight is going through a really tough time right now. Between the low-quality chapter releases recently with Knight and Skull Merchant and the DDoS attacks, many people are understandably very upset, and many have started to leave the game or take a break because of it. However, there is one aspect I want to cover with today's video, and that's the community itself and its impact on the state of the game. Many content creators have voiced their opinions about the community being in a poor spot right now, where players are insulting others in the endgame chat or on social media platforms, saying all kinds of deplorable shit to them. But there's one aspect a lot of content creators seem to forget. The players of Dead by Daylight can actively influence how the matches turn out for either side. This is by no means justifying telling someone to off themselves or threatening others for how they play, but people often forget that the other side can make your experience miserable. If you get a dull merchant that doesn't want to play the game but instead plays on autopilot and traps you in the match for 40 minutes, that is understandably going to piss the survivors off. On the other hand, if you just want to play a casual game of Ghostface and you get a 4-man survive with friends with 4 medkits and 4 dead hards that rush the gens in 3 to 5 minutes and BMs you along the way, most people in that situation would not be happy about that either. Naturally, this will cause some salt in the endgame chat, which is fine as long as it doesn't go to a level of personal insults. Regardless of the outcome of a match, you need to understand that your actions in-game have an effect on others. Dead by Daylight is unique in that it depends a lot on how your opponent performs just as much as how you perform. Whereas if you play, for example, a first-person shooter in a free-for-all, your skill has more of an impact than anything. And so if you're better than everyone else in the lobby, chances are you're going to win. Dead by Daylight is completely different. Being an asymmetrical game, both sides work off of each other and react based on what the other side is doing. This leads to situations where you may play killer and you have better chases than the survivors, but they're extremely efficient on generators, thus usually not mattering if you're not playing a strong killer. This ties into how tunneling, camping, 3genning, gen rushing, etc., and overall just playing sweaty can ruin the experience of someone else who may not be trying their hardest and just wants to have fun, potentially leading to them to get tilted during and after the match in the endgame chat. It's also sad to see content creators and people in the community speak up about toxicity when they themselves could be contributing to it in the first place. I've heard a lot of, it's just a video game, they bought the game so they play how they want, and other similar things. And if you're going to say that, fine, but don't act surprised when the other players who've had a bad experience because of the way you played get upset at you. Nobody wants to come home from a long day of school or work and be stuck in a 30+ minute Dead by Daylight match because the killer playing Dull Merchant wanted to hold a 3-gen. And hey, if you're one of these people that plays in a way like this, then at least own up to the fact that you're making a lot of other players have a bad time, instead of trying to play it off like what you're doing is completely fine and that they're just overreacting. This brings me to a major point of why Dead by Daylight isn't fun, and it's that the players forgot how to have fun with this game. I said the same thing around the time MMR was introduced, and I'll say it again. The most fun you can have in this game is when you're not taking it seriously. The matches I remember the best are the ones where I have great interactions with the survivors or the killer, like getting outplayed by a really good Wesker or scaring the hell out of survivors with Silent Bell Wraith, things like that. It's moments like these where Dead by Daylight is at its best, when you can just play the game and have fun chases and scares, not this stale meta we have right now, which is just tunneling someone out immediately and 3genning while the survivors try to rush gens as fast as possible. The matches I play where I get the most salt are when I tunnel survivors out of the game. For example, one of the killers that I main is Blight, and I don't main him just because I want to win, I main him because he's fun. However, sometimes I do tunnel people out of the game, especially if I get tilted because I'm playing poorly, and in those instances it helps for me to realize that I made the survivor I tunneled have a bad time. I was an active influencer in his frustration, and instead of sweeping it under the rug and telling him to get good and easy game and all that, I felt bad for ruining his game instead. I am by no means an innocent person. I am guilty of getting salty in endgame chats, but there is always a reason. That reason may not be justified all the time though. There are players out there who will get angry just for losing even though either side didn't play in a boring or sweaty way, and those players will always be mad regardless of what you do. But a lot of salt I see from players when I play killer correlates directly to how I played out the match or how their teammates played. I typically don't directly apologize to the players in the endgame chat, but I can at least acknowledge that I may have led to them having an unfun experience, and that's an important concept that I feel not a lot of content creators fully grasp. A majority of the player base are not comp players, and yet everyone takes this game too seriously. They play in ways that makes the game less fun and then acts really surprised when the other side hates them for it. This game has an amazing appeal towards a more casual environment, And yet we aren't seeing that many new players anymore due to the drop in quality of the new content and the community making the game boring for each other. It would be fine if bad matches happened every once in a while, but they're becoming more and more common as time goes on. And to be truthfully honest, I couldn't tell you how to fix this issue aside from the community needing to switch their mindset from taking the game seriously to playing it for fun like we used to. Dead by Daylight in 2016 was an absolute shit show, but nobody was taking the game that seriously on release. We played the game to get scared out of our minds and be chased by serial killers. We weren't playing to be optimal survivors or hold the survivors hostage on a 3-gen for half an hour. My only wish is that behavior addresses the more unfun aspects about the game, and I feel like that would also help a lot in making players feel better about the game. Luckily, as of me recording this today, there was a post by the developers addressing some of the more boring aspects of Skull Merchant, such as the 3-gens, while also trying to address her chase potential, and that's going to be an update that releases next week, so the changes seem okay. I just hope that it's enough to stop the 30 to 40 minute games, but I guess we'll find out when that comes out. But regardless, gens getting done in 3 minutes is not fun, but never completing the gens after half an hour is also not fun. Among the myriad of annoying perks each side has that just saps the fun out of the game and makes it feel like a sweat fest when it never should be one. But in the meantime, if you play in a way that makes the other players in your match miserable, please do not play it off as if you are an innocent person, because you are part of the problem too, not just the players who voice their frustrations and anger. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.